children's librarian at the Goldsboro Library. I'm back for the last week of summer reading. So we've had 7 weeks of really cool stories, fun activities, and tips for parents. So I've got one last set of tips for parents of very small children and babies. This is a big one. So whenever we have in-person story times at the library, we hear a lot of parents talking about this. And I've experienced this in my personal life too. So a lot of people who are reading with their children at home get frustrated because they feel like they're doing this important thing. They've got to read to their children, and their children are not obviously paying attention, or they're running around, or they're not listening, or whatever. And the parents are like, what am I doing wrong? How can I do this better? How can I make my child pay attention to these stories? So I'm here to make you feel better about it. So first off, do not expect your toddler to sit still for a book. They need to move. They're developing all their muscles and their gross motor skills, and all of these big things are happening. So they need to move around. So if they're moving around, walking around, running around, doing something with their hands while they're listening to you read, don't worry about it. That's normal. They are learning in their own way, and they are also listening. So just keep reading. It's fine. It doesn't seem like it, but it is. When you are together reading with your child, there's a couple things that you can do to help get them more engaged in kind of a way that makes sense to us. So pick books that maybe have rhyming words or a refrain that repeats periodically throughout the book. And if your child is a little bit older, you can get them to help you finish the phrase that's repeated, or say, what word do you think rhymes with this? What do you think is coming next? And if you've read the book many times and they kind of know what's happening next, sometimes you could mess up a word or use different words in that repeating part and let them catch you in your mistake. They kind of feel like, ooh, I know how this is supposed to go, which is really funny. Choose books that have animals or vehicles in them, or books that invite you to make sounds or move around, kind of these more interactive books, which we are getting more and more of in here at the library, or books with flaps or different textures in them, or sliding parts, moving parts. These are a really great way to engage your child's mind and their hands, so kind of putting together the two things that they want to do most. And books with really beautiful illustrations kind of can grab their attention, and you can kind of point things out and talk about the illustrations. You may not even talk about the story, but you can talk about the illustrations a lot. It helps to keep them engaged, and you can talk about colors and all of these, all the things that you see. Look for books, especially for these little ones, that have not very many words and really simple sentences. You can read them over and over. But if you're trying to read books that have huge paragraphs, if they're very small, they're not going to sit still for it. They may not really be interested. It's just too much. And if it's shorter, it may be something that they could more easily engage in and stay interested in. We have lots of time later for those really long books. Toddlers actually have shorter attention spans than babies do. Babies would sit and stare at you for a long time, but toddlers, they're checking everything out around them. So keep it short. You can read more often throughout your day. Just read something short here in the morning, read another short thing here, and by the end of the day you'll have read quite a bit. But keeping it short and simple and sweet keeps them engaged, but you can engage with them more often throughout the day rather than expecting them to sit down and listen to one huge thing. Read their favorite stories over and over again. Try to pick books about things that your child is really interested in. This would help them stay more interested for longer than a book that they're not so into, and can help lengthen their attention span and get them more enthusiastic about reading. So we see this even with older children, like school-age children. If they're trying to read a book about a subject they're not really into, they're not going to want to read it. They're not going to be interested in it. They're going to say, oh, I hate reading, or, I'm not really into this right now. But if you find a book on a topic they really like, they can even read books that are, a little bit above their reading level just because the subject engages them so much. So, especially with little ones, you can just find a book about cars or sports or whatever they're really interested in at the time, and it can help to grow those listening skills and engage them a lot more. So that's really great. What we really want to do when children are small, and even, when they're older, but especially when they're small, is to make reading a positive experience and to make it something that they really love doing, and to make learning a positive and fun experience. A lot of the things we've talked about over the course of the summer involve, building their vocabularies, helping them understand the world around them, because that's really what they're doing when they're so small. But we also want it to be fun, not something that, makes them feel like, oh, we got to sit down and do this thing right now. Just make it enjoyable. Make it part of your normal routine, but make it fun. It doesn't have to be a big chore. And you don't have to finish every book that you start. When I started doing story time at the library, I had a hard time with that, because sometimes your audience will pay great attention. The books really capture, their minds, and they're looking at it and asking questions and interacting with you. And other times, maybe not so much. Maybe they did something really exciting before they got here. They're thinking about something else. So you don't have to read through the whole book every time. If it's not working, you can stop and start later. You can choose another book. It is fine. It doesn't mean that you have done a bad job. It doesn't mean you have failed. It just means it's not working right now and we can try again later. So that's a really big thing to keep in mind. We want it to be fun. We want it to be a positive experience. Pick something with great pictures, something that can engage their hands as well, and it would be a much more fulfilling experience than if you're trying to read this really long thing and just getting really frustrated. So I hope that these tips over the course of the summer have helped you out a little bit. Learning starts at the very beginning, even before they're born. So we just want to kind of be there with them while they're soaking up all this information and making it just as easy and enjoyable as possible. So if y'all ever have any questions, you can come to the library and talk to us. We will suggest books for you and help you find other resources. So just keep us in mind, and if you have any questions, just reach out to us. All right, we have so enjoyed having our summer reading program with you guys this year, and we'll see you later. All right, bye.